Welcome to Yogasan for the rest of us. Today we'll focus on backbends, both standing and lying down on the mat. Backbends, whether done standing or lying down, open up the chest and shoulders and can help expand the lungs. If done correctly and regularly, they can tone the spine and strengthen the back. Remember, as you flow through the poses, to keep your hamstrings engaged, shoulder blades moving towards each other. Keep your chest lifted and lift from the thoracic spine. Let's come into Tadasana now. Bring your hands overhead, palms together. Breathe in and out. Take a few breaths at your own pace. Now gently stretch to the right. Back to center and to the left. And ever so gently come into your first backbend of the day. Taking the time to warm your spine. Come back up to center. Fold forward into Uttanasana. Flatten your back, place your hands on your shins and come into halfway lift. Place your hands on the ground in front of you, folding forward and coming back up with your hands overhead, palms together and down to heart center. From here we take our hands over our head again and flow through the classic sun salutation. Fold down and forward into Uttanasana. Come into a halfway lift or Ardha Uttanasana. Step your right leg back with your left knee bent. Drop your right knee, flatten your right foot, bring your hands overhead and gently bend backwards in Anjaneyasana, taking your gaze upwards. Frame your left foot again, tuck your right toes, lift your knee off the ground, step your left leg to meet the right leg, roll forward and flow through a plank and come into a cobra or Bhujangasan. Push up, lift your hips up and come into a downward dog. From here, step your right leg up and forward in between your hands. Drop your left knee. Bring your hands over your head again as you come into another back bend in Anjaneyasana. Fold down again. Frame your right foot. Lift your left knee off the ground. Tuck your toes. And step your left leg to meet the right leg. Halfway lift and bring your hands over your head and come back up and come into standing and in Tadasana. We repeat the flow again. Step your right leg back, drop your right knee, flatten your right foot, come into Anjaneyasana and bend gently backwards into a back bend. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Before you come forward again, frame your left foot. Tuck your right toes, lift your right knee, left leg meets the right leg, come into a plank, and Bhujangasan. In Bhujangasan, remember to keep your elbows towards the side, close to the body, or if that's too much, you can place your forearm in front of you and come into a baby cobra. Gently come out of Bhujangasan by tucking your toes and lifting your hips into downward dog. Lift your right leg, bring it in front and between your hands. Now drop your left knee this time, flatten your left toes. Lift your hands overhead again and bend backwards gently. Fold forward again. Tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, and your right foot meets the left foot meets the right foot. Halfway lift. And bring your hands overhead, palms together in prayer, down to heart center and hands by your side in Dhanurasana. From here, you gently grounding yourself with your left foot, gently bend your right leg at the knee, hold your right foot with your right palm and lift your left hand up straight. Once you have gained your balance, inhale and gently pivot and bring your torso forward and your right leg up at the back, moving in a straight line. You're not opening to the right side, but you're just kicking towards the back. The right leg only stretches and kicks towards the back. As you come into dancer pose or Natarajasan, come back up again, gently release, and we will repeat this on the other side. Ground your right leg with your right foot on the ground, bend your left leg at the knee, hold your left foot with your left palm, raise your right hand overhead, and now gently pivot at the hips and bring your upper body forward as you lift, gently pull and lift your left foot behind you, straight behind you. Take your gaze at a point in front of you so that you can establish your focus or drishti and maintain your balance. Come back up, release, and come into Tadasana again. Hands by your side. Take a couple of breaths here. Now placing your hands on your hips and coming to the top of your mat, step your right leg about 3 feet behind you, 3.5 to 4 feet behind you. Turn your right foot at an angle, your left foot points forward, your hips are facing forward and bending at your left knee. Bring your hands over your head and gently look backward, upwards, and take your gaze upwards and to the back as you get a slight back bend in Warrior 1. If you bend deeper into your front leg, remember that your knee should not go over your toes. Now bring your hands down and open to the side as we come into Warrior 2 or Virabhadrasana 2. Gently flip your left palm upwards and over your head while your right hand gently touches your right thigh. Come back to Warrior 2 again and let's repeat this one more time. As we come into Reverse Warrior, opening to the right side, resting the right hand on the right hamstring and bringing the left hand overhead and taking the gaze upwards. Come back into Warrior 2 again, and now windmill your hands forward, step into a plank, roll forward, come down into Bhujangasan or Cobra. Lift your hips, tucking your toes and come into a downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. Lift your right leg up and bring your legs forward, come into standing, palms together and down to heart center. You repeat this on the other side. Now step your left foot behind, about 3.5 feet behind. Bend your right knee. Adjust your hips so that they're facing forward. And bring your hands straight overhead and gently bend backwards. Bring a gentle back bend in your spine. Taking your gaze upwards and slowly to the back. As you bend deeper with every exhale into the right knee. Flow into Warrior 2. Opening to the left side. Flip your right palm face upwards and gently come into a Reverse Warrior on the left side with your right hand overhead and going back, and your left hand just gently resting on your left thigh. Come back into Warrior 2 again and repeat the Reverse Warrior on the left side. Windmill both your hands down to frame the right foot. Step your right foot back, come into a plank. Drop your right knees and gently come into a Cobra. Lifting your abdomen off the ground. Tuck your toes, come onto your knees and lift your hips up and come into a Downward Dog. Roll forward on your toes. Drop your knees again. And come into a tabletop. From here, turn your right knee at an angle and stretch your left leg out to the side and come into a side supported side plank, supporting on the right palm and lifting your left hand overhead. Take your gaze upwards. Keep your hips lifted off the ground. Don't let them sag towards the ground. Come back down into a tabletop and let's go through a few cat cows. Arch your back into cow and curve your spine into cat. And let's repeat the supported side plank on the other side, supporting on your left hand this time, with your left knee bent and your right leg outstretched to the side and your right hand overhead. Come back to tabletop again. Come down to the ground on your belly. Place your palms beneath your shoulders, elbows tucked in towards your body. Bend your knees and hold your feet with your hands. Lift your chest off the ground and pull as you come into Dhanurasana or bow pose. Release. Turn to the left side of the mat, resting on your right cheek. Prepare for the pose again. Lift and pull. Release. Turn to the right side of the mat and rest on your left cheek. Push yourself up gently by tucking your toes, lifting your chest and then your hips, and come to rest on your heels as you come into child's pose. Your arms outstretched in front of you, and take a couple of breaths here as you get some rest. Child's pose is a resting pose, and feel free to come into child's pose whenever you need a break. Now gently turn and come to lie down on the mat with your back on the mat. Bend your knees, place your feet flat in front of you. Try to touch your toes with your fingertips and then gently lift your hips off the ground, pushing into the ground with your feet as we come into bridge pose or Setu Bandhanasana. You can also clasp your hands under your back, or you can have them lying next to you or touching your heels if that's possible and accessible to you. Release. Hug your knees into your chest and get a gentle counter stretch. You go through bridge pose one more time. Set up the pose, set up your legs, press deeper into the ground and lift. Lift your abdomen and lift your torso and your hips off the ground. Try to roll your shoulders under your body or under your back. Keep your spine and your neck neutral and flat. Release. If you have a practice in wheel at this point, feel free to go into wheel, but this is a more advanced pose, so I would not recommend that you do it unless you have a good consistent practice in wheel and are able to do it correctly. Take a counter stretch by hugging your knees into your chest. Now bend your knees, bring them towards your chest, hold the outside of your feet and come into a happy baby pose. You can rock from side to side or just stay still. And then bring the soles of your feet together into butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana. Release and we come into the final back bend for the day, which is Matsyasan or fish pose. Place your hands underneath your buttocks and close to your sacrum. Bend your elbows, lift your chest up as you come to sit on your forearms under you. Keep your feet stretched straight out in front of you. Breathe in and out gently. This is a very relaxing and calming pose and is a perfect last pose or end pose for a sequence in Backbends. Release. Bring your hands to your sides. Hug your knees to your chest. Gently rock from side to side as you massage your tailbone and the sacrum. Now bend your right leg at the knee. Bring it close to your chest and just outside of the rib cage on the left side, and draw your knee closer in to your body. This is the wind releasing pose or Pavan Muktasan on the left side. It aids with digestion by massaging the digestive organs. Repeat on the left side. Remember to not bring your knee or leg in close directly to your chest, but to the outside of the rib cage on the side. Lift your hands overhead and stretch. Stretch in opposite directions. And we go through a few stretches here before we come into Shavasana. Stay in Shavasana for 5 to 7 minutes to reap the full benefits of your practice. Thank you for joining me in my practice today. Namaste.